Witam Was serdecznie, fajnie, że jesteście na naszym webinarze. Dzisiaj webinar po angielsku, więc za chwilę skończę mówić po polsku, będę mówił już typowo po angielsku. Przede wszystkim dajcie znać, czy mnie dobrze słychać, czy wszystko jest dobrze, czy obraz się nie tnie, czy wszystko jest w porządku. Widzę, że spora grupa osób, ponad 100 osób dołączyło do naszego webinaru, ale napiszcie, słuchajcie, nie tylko dzień dobry, ale napiszcie również, czy wszystko dobrze widać i dobrze słychać, bo to w chwili obecnej dla mnie jest najbardziej istotne. Dzisiaj, słuchajcie, łączymy się z wieloma krajami, łączymy się z Kanadą, łączymy się z Włochami, Litwą, Ukrainą i Turcją i będziemy rozmawiali o sytuacji pandemicznej, o sytuacji mobilności międzynarodowej, a także edukacji na uczelniach wyższych. Widzę, Krzysztof pisze, wszystko jest ok, Szymon, że ok. Słuchajcie, w takim razie przechodzimy już na wersję angielską. Chciałbym też dodać, że osoby, które będą aktywne, będą zadawały pytania podczas naszej dyskusji, najaktywniejsze osoby, które będą najczęściej komentowały, mają szansę wygrać specjalną nagrodę, niespodziankę i na koniec, słuchajcie, webinaru przedstawimy, kto tą nagrodę otrzyma. Hello everyone. I would like to at first say hello to our guests from different countries, from Macedonia, from Lithuania, Ukraine, and Turkey, and Italy, of course. And at the beginning, they will introduce themselves. So at first, I would like to greet our friend from the most far away, from Canada, and she represents also North Macedonia. Hello, Mariana. Could you introduce yourself in few words?
Hello, my name is Mariana Dimitrova. I'm happy to be here today with you. I'm representing the Interedu Association at this webinar, which is an association dealing in scientific and research projects as well as educational projects, and of course networking and sharing of best practices in education, mobilities, and so on. And I'll be happy today to give you an insight in what's going on. When we speak of Canada, I'm going to speak about Ontario only, and also in the North Macedonia. So anyone who has any questions or whatever, after I give a brief presentation, may feel free to ask me.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariana. The next our guest is a guest from Italy, Giulio. Buongiorno, Giulio.
Buongiorno.
And
Good
introduce
morning,
yourself.
Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. I'm Giulio Esposito. I'm the head of International Office at University of Foggia, and I deal mainly about Erasmus actions and partnership, summer school, everything related about internationalization of university. Nice to meet you, and I will talk later about mobility and pandemic situation.
Okay, thank you very much. The next person is Tomasz. Tomasz is from Lithuania. Originally, he's from Poland, but at this moment he represents Lithuania. Hello, Tomasz.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. As Robert already introduced me, I'm working at the Vytautas Magnus University in Kaunas, Lithuania at the moment. And I'm a researcher at Czesław Miłosz Center at the Faculty of Political Science and Diplomacy. So for Polish ear, Czesław Miłosz is a very well-known person, so I don't need to introduce the patron of our center. And as well, I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer at the Department of History at the Faculty of Humanities. So at the moment, I'm more as a researcher at the university, but I still have some teaching, still have some seminars. So I think that I will share some experience from our Lithuanian side, how we deal with all those situations that happened to us more than a year ago. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much, Tomasz. And now we can move to very hot country. I'm meaning Turkey. And from Turkey, we have two representatives from our partner university, Firat University. So I'm glad you welcome Bura. Hello, Bura. How are you? And how is the weather in Turkey?
It's just like the Eurovision meetings. It's very good in here. Good weather, sunny and 23 degrees. My name is Buğra Orhan. I am Doctor Research Assistant in Firat University, Department of Economics. At the same time, I am coordinator, Erasmus coordinator of the Department of Economics. You know, we sent a lot of students to Elbląg University, you know, the former Varvas Gülsüm, maybe you know she. First of all, I want to hi the dear academicians and the students and all the participants. It's a big pleasure to be present at this event. And unfortunately, our lives have been negatively affected by the pandemic for more than a year. In particular, we can say that academic education is going through a very difficult process. That's why we are here. And as I said, I am very happy to be here. So just like this, I don't want to make it so long.
Okay, thank you, Bura, very much. And another representative of Firat University is Professor Izet Tasar. Hello, and please introduce yourself in few words.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Izet. I'm an associate professor in economics faculty. So I'm in economics, and maybe the pandemic mostly affected the world's economy in all over the world. In Canada, in Italy, in Lithuania, in Poland, and in Turkey. And when we are talking economic activities, education is one of them. So today I'm very happy for the invitation, and I have an agenda including the tourism and economy together, and those two together makes education. How is the effect on education? I will try to say some words about that. Again, thank you for the invitation, and I wish a successful program for all.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last guest from abroad is Olga. Olga is she represents Ukraine. Okay, hello, Olga. It's nice to hear you and see you, and please introduce yourself.
Hello to everyone. My name is Olga Kotowska, and I'm representing Ukraine. For a long time, I was working like an associated professor in the University of Lviv, Ivan Franko University, and also in the Institute of Public Administration in Ukraine. But for last year, I was working like a head of the Office of Innovation, Distant Learning, Coordination of Higher Education and Science Institutions, Vocation Education in Department of Education and Science in Lviv Regional State Administration. So I have different experiences. We are working in distant learning sphere with schools, also with universities, and also with professional vocational education.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I will represent our maybe not guests, but hosts of the meeting. Ms. Katarzyna Olszewska, she is the organizer of this webinar. And Kasiu, please say something about you.
Hello for everybody. I think that our students know me, but for our guests and people who maybe observe our transmission on Facebook page, I'm an academic teacher in Institute of Economics, and I have a function like a vice dean of this institute. Also, I have students who would like to go abroad, that I take care of them about some kind of Erasmus mobility from our institute. And I'm so glad, it is a pleasure that you joined for our meeting. And as I told you, everybody, it is the first time when we try to do in English, and I hope that everything will be good and our students will be interested in it. And in the future, we will make more this kind of meetings, or maybe not even conference. So Thank you very much, and you are welcome. I'm so proud that we can do it in our university.
Thank you very much. And the next Kasia, she also represents Institute of Economics. Hello, Kasia. Microphone.
Thank you very much, Robert. Hello, my name is Katarzyna Jachimowicz. I am ordinary academic teacher. It's already 1 year that I'm working here in Elbląg, so I have the pleasure to be one of many co-workers of Dr. Olszewska. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So all of the our participants, the speakers of this webinar already introduced, but we have also the special guests. I would like to gladly welcome our Deputy Rector, Mr. Jerzy Buriak, who would like to open our international webinar, and he will say a few words for the beginning. Hello, Jerzy, and
hello, everyone. My name is Jurek Buriak, so you can say not exactly Jerzy, but maybe more easy is Jurek Buriak. I am Vice Rector for Education at the State University of Applied Sciences in Elbląg. I am responsible for all education aspects. By the way, each year we have students from Turkey. Very nice to meet you. So do you have a question for me at the beginning?
If not, I don't hear any information. So, but I will give you the first question. The first question: what was the biggest challenge for starting to teach in a different way than usual? So it's more than 1 year as we have a pandemic, COVID-19 in Poland and in the rest of countries. What was the biggest challenge for our university to change everything and start to teach online for our students?
Hello, Robert. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
My previous answer?
No, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
Okay, so maybe I say again. Hello, everyone. I am Vice Rector for Education at the State University of Applied Sciences in Elbląg. I am responsible for all education aspects. By the way, each year we have students from Turkey. Very nice to meet you. And what I can say, my short answer could be exercises conducted in hardware laboratories. During the first wave of the pandemic, we were broadcasting and recording videos of the practical exercises conducted in hardware laboratories. The effects were not satisfying, as the examination session has shown. Currently, we are implementing classes in small groups while maintaining sanitary regimes and suspending classes during pandemic peaks. Students appreciate these classes very much. They are happy that they can work with real devices. We can also see that they are strongly adhere to the sanitary requirements. So maybe at the beginning, this is my answer.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would like to ask our guests, how was the beginning when the pandemic started in their countries, and how the universities in general on the education had to change the possibilities of teaching. And I would like to ask the others, our guests, and if you would like to take part, maybe I can at the beginning ask our friend from Turkey, Bura, what maybe you can say something. How was the beginning of the pandemic time, and when you had to change everything and start to teach online? How was in Turkey?
Thank you very much for giving words for me. I want to say a couple of words about this. Actually, I have some notes, especially I will see the problem in the negative dimensions. And let me explain this in a couple of topics. The first one, when we start to educate our students in pandemic period, one of our main problems is the access to internet. Some of our students do not have healthy internet access because of financial reasons, but the fact that our students from different cities hesitate to make permanent internet subscriptions in the part of this problem. Actually, it is the technical part of the pandemic period problem. Another problem is our students' lack of basic motivation, and in my opinion, is the biggest problem. In this context, it is seen that the attendance of the students to online courses is very low. Right? Lecturers are struggling on this issue, but it's very difficult to get the desired level of the participation. In pandemic, it is seen that students who don't want self-autonomy skills have some problems. It's the very important problem, in my opinion, because they need to be led by someone to control their education process and mentorship for face-to-face education and the comforts offered by face-to-face education. We can add another opinions. In addition to this, some students have self-efficacy problems. Students should be motivated and should know that they can achieve something without taking support. You know, pandemic created a new reality for some students, and it's about an adaptation process. Some could, but some couldn't in this process. It's very important because we can separate the process before pandemic, after pandemic. Another problem is the social relation needs. You know, they are nearly 20 years ago, old young people. Last year, students' social development process has been interrupted. You know, they need face-to-face communication to keep their social side alive. Because of these problems and pandemic, our students cannot focus the courses, of course, and they have some perception problems. That's why they are in despair for the near future. When they compare their former experiences and now, it's obvious that they cannot conduct before and now. That's why I want to share some parts of the problem with you at the micro level. I hope I could make the right contribution on the subject, but it's my plan to tell these problems to you. I don't know if you are having same problems or not.
Thank you very much, Bura.
You're welcome.
And for them, I was interested. How was the beginning of the pandemic time, and what kind of mobile learning tools were used? Maybe Tomasz, maybe you can say something about Lithuania. How was at your university, at Vytautas University in Kaunas, the year ago, and tell us what kind of mobility tools you already use it.
Hello once again. Maybe I'm not the good person to speak about the very beginning, because in my personal experience from a year before is a bit different, because I was on my own on a research scholarship at the University of Vienna when the pandemic started, and I had to let's say evacuate from Austria to Lithuania, and I managed to go back from Vienna with the very last plane from Vienna airport to Vilnius airport. But talking about the teaching process, fortunately, at our university, we have the Institute of Innovative Studies, which are working on the distance learning for a few years already. We had some courses that were already taught either in distance learning, either in the mixed combined system. So we were, let's say, lucky that we had some examples how to work, how to transform, and how to go online with all the teaching process. So I can say that in something like 2 weeks, all the departments managed to go online and start teaching using all the tools. At the beginning, we were using Adobe Connect, but from this year, the first semester of this academic year, we are using mainly MS Teams. If someone wants to use Big Blue Button, it's still possible, but Adobe Connect it's rather not used, because at the very beginning there were quite big problems with the connection. I cannot say that we have some problems with students and their attendance. From my perspective, I can say that they were going for my classes in class and online. It's a very similar amount of students in those two cases. Of course, the bigger problems were the tests and the exams, but I think that we can discuss this a bit later. So I think that talking about our university, we managed to switch to the new reality quite well, even during the first wave of pandemic. I took part in a defense of PhD thesis that was made online, and all the session with exams were actually held online. So talking about historians and the students of history, the biggest problem actually was closed libraries and closed archives, and that resulted in the fact that, let's say, half of students didn't manage to submit their bachelor of or master thesis on time, and their defenses were postponed from summer of 2020 to the winter session. So we could say that for my student that was more challenging. I think that's these are my impressions, let's say.
Okay. Now I have some questions to our students. As I said, it will be some awards for the most active comments. So first questions for our Facebook participants is, I will show it on the screen. Okay, it's the first questions to our Facebook participants of this webinar. How did you imagine learning when pandemic started? So just think about it and think what was a year ago when you got this information that the university were closed and everything has to be online. How did you imagine how could the learning look like? And please write in the comments and we will check the comments. What did you write there? But we will continue our discussions with our guests. Maybe then the next questions I can ask you, maybe not about the tools, the learning tools, because we have already said about it. How academic teachers or students have been struggling with e-learning, and maybe I will ask our Polish guests. Maybe Kasia Olszewska can say something about this. What kind of problems our students and teachers had a year ago?
So I think that when we started online learning, it was the big problem for students and for teachers also. As Bura told us that they have the same problems which we have, internet connection. And of course, it is normal because it was in some moment and university didn't know what to do. But we have to prepare some standards and some platforms to use it, and we started with Zoom, and of course with some kind of platform Moodle where we can put our exercises for our students. But it was so hard, and first semester last year it was so hard, so difficult, and as Tomasz told us, we also have to make a longer time to put the thesis of bachelor degree or master degree. But in this year, when we started taking the Microsoft Teams, all of students and teachers are good in it because at the beginning of this academic year, we had a lot of trial connections and some teaching for using this kind of tool. So I think in our university now it isn't a problem, and I think that a lot of students don't have problems with using it. But what I noticed that they would like to come back to university, and last Monday we started hybrid lessons that some of our programs, some of our exercises, laboratories, we have face-to-face stationary, and I started it on Monday, and really it is really good, not only for me but for students also. But I'm so interested how it has happened in North Macedonia, and maybe Mariana, you know what has happened in your university where you have been working.
I wasn't quite there when this pandemic happened, but I have these contacts with colleagues and an outlook of the situation. Well, the Godsdolch University has introduced this e-index so that the students were already familiar with something in a digital way. While I'm talking, I want to just say sorry if you hear the knocking sound coming from the outside. There are two seasons here in Canada, which are the winter and the construction, and now is the construction season, and it's knocking all the time. So it's no way to stop it. But back to the question. So students were already familiar with some type of digital approaching to their studies, which was in administrative ways. And I know that the colleagues and most of the faculties, in fact, adjusted a Microsoft platform for their teaching. Although they are experiencing quite a lot of issues because most of all, they don't have their lectures uploaded or prepared their lessons plans for digital teaching. It was all in person, in classroom teaching. So the beginning there was not quite bright. I think that now the situation is a bit different. They have this teaching online, and of course in Macedonia they're experiencing the same problems in terms of technology, just like in Turkey and just like in Poland, with this internet connection, with the possibility to have a personal computer for each student. And then in that regard, the students are given the option to have their exams in person or online. It's up to them to decide. And on the other side, I'm not going to compare. It's just to present. In Canada, the situation was not that way because the digital teaching and the online teaching is something that existed even before the pandemic. And in fact, for each course, the student has the right to choose if he's going to come and show up for the lesson or not, for each and every lesson. And if the student has something else to do, and most of the students do have because they work while they study, and then they follow the lectures later on their own convenience.
Okay, thank you, Mariana, very much. We got first questions. Thank you very much for your answers for my questions. But I would like to ask also Olga, how was the situation in Ukraine? Could you say something how when pandemic started, how the universities and all education had to move from normal education to this online part?
Yes, in Ukraine the situation was the same, and we as the Department of Education also wanted to analyze if the teachers are prepared for such a situation, because a lot of teachers did not have digital skills. So at the beginning it was one of the biggest problems. So for example, we as a department tried to teach teachers quickly digital skills. And now I think it would be very important sphere to have basic knowledge about how to deal with different platforms. And it is another sphere that would be important for universities and schools, also to choose the best platform for education of the institution, if it is a university or it is a school, because we see that students and children have a big problem to switch from one platform of education to another. And we also try to promote free platforms and to teach teachers to do that. Also, we see another problem that exists now. It's psychological problem, because I think professors and teachers have the same problem, that when you communicate with students by your devices, you do not have the real contact. And there should be some rules of the communication, because if the screen is switched off, and you do not see the students, you do not know what they do. And it's also another problem. I think we should discuss about the rules of digital learning, because only in these conditions we could have better results of education and teaching. And if all we know how to organize this process. So I think it would be one of the important tasks to discuss digital and distant learning, the rules of them. And we also see another problem, because we have some universities which tried to use mixed learning, and we see that they are better than the universities which just tried distant learning. So we promote mixed learning if it is possible. And I think after pandemic situation, we also have to find out in which situation we should use distant learning, because the results show that it's not very often effective. The pupils, the children and the students have to be prepared and have to be very much responsible in this process if they really want to have this education in a higher level. So in Ukraine, we also have the same problems, and we try to deal that by teaching teachers and the universities digital skills. And now we try to measure these digital skills by specific schedule proposed by our Ministry of Digital Transformation.
Thank you very much about the information about in your countries. And we started to talk about the support also for teacher and students. You had about some problems which students and teachers had in your countries. And the same problems wrote some our guests on Facebook in the comments. We also I read information about the problems, and maybe Kasia Jachimovich, I will ask you. Maybe you can say something. What kind of support did you expect from your university during pandemic?
Well, before I'm going to answer that, well, I have to say that my experience as a teacher is very little, because when I started working here in Elbląg, and when I was assumed, actually, after 2 weeks after starting my job, the pandemic started also. So I worked only for 2 weeks in a normal, ordinary way, and then I had to, change. And for me, it was a complete shock. It was like, I knew that I had to, leaving my comfort zone. And at the beginning, I was very insecure, because I didn't know for how long it's going to last, this experience. We had all this information from mass media, that we are going to be in lockdown only for 2 weeks at the beginning. Then it was postponed for 1 month and for 2 months, and it was very difficult to organize the process of teaching in that state of of improbability, of uncertainty, when you didn't know for how long you are going to be in that kind of situation. But at the beginning, when it started immediately, we were like supported by our directors. They organized for us all kind of meetings. They were teaching us the new digital skills. They showed us how to use Moodle platform. Then they also enabled us to work with the Zoom platform. And I was supported, just step by step. And for the beginner, as I was, because I was a complete beginner as a teacher, this support, when I had to, every time when I had a question and I could ask my supervisor, what to do, they were always present. And that was the most important thing for me, that I wasn't alone with that problem, that I was supported all the time. So the tools are important, that you have Moodle, that you have Microsoft Teams, that you have Zoom, but also, this personal approach of your supervisor. That was the most important thing for me, that, I could ask every question, and then my supervisor was also there for me, always available. So that was the most important thing for me. Now today is better because, when we started this year teaching, somehow we knew that it's going to last for the whole year, for the whole academic year. So now we are better equipped. We have one platform. We are using this Microsoft Teams, and we have more experience. But I would like to ask, other teachers from other countries, if you can recommend me, the beginner, any, good solution? How is the proper way, the best way to verify students' knowledge during these times, these hard times? How can I verify students' knowledge? How can I be sure that this exam is fair, that is just, and students are not cheating if we have to give not oral but written exams?
If someone from the guests would like to answer for Kasia's questions, do you have any ideas?
Depends on the level of cheating from the students.
I'm not telling that students are only cheating, but it's a natural temptation, when you are all alone in your room. And
I'll tell you something. I was on one exam I'm now talking about Macedonia. So I'm on one exam in Macedonia, and as I was walking through the classroom while there was the exam, I noticed something caught my eye, and it was in fact a whole answer written on the plaque, which is on the wall. So if a student wants to cheat, the student will cheat. But in written examination and done by the computer, I would suggest that if you have the time, it depends on your group of students. It will be hard, but you can. I mean, depending on the examination, if it goes online. If it is an online test and you simultaneously receive the answers, then that's it. You just see the students on the screen like we are now. But if it is just like a document that they send it to you, then you can just maybe make smaller groups of students, like 3 to 5 students that you can follow all the time while they are on screen. Nothing else. From my experience.
So I have to supervise like like a smaller group of teachers, of students at once. As I understand. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And how is this problem solved in Turkey? Burak, maybe you can say something about.
Yes, last semester I was giving a course of globalization, and I wanted to be sure that my students understood my points. That's why I decided to spend more time on my students. Hence, I gave homeworks to my students for the final exams. It was a very hard process for me because I read more than 500 pages totally. Otherwise, I know that I will miss my points on my students because we are the social scientists and you are speaking hours and hours to make the students give the knowledge. And then I realized that for each course I spent a couple of weeks maybe for a final exam, but now I can say easily that I am sure that I could give the knowledge that I want to my students. Basically, you can be sure by spending more time to your students. It's the best way of pandemic, I think.
Thank you very much, Burak, about the information. How it's in Turkey. Now I have another questions to our students on Facebook, but I will put the question on the screen. What kind of support do you need? Do you need still some support from the university or other kind of support for online learning? If you need some support, and do you think that a university should give more support, because we already gave some of it? And just write in the comment. We are also interested about your opinion. And now I will check the comments, but we'll continue discussions. And now maybe we can change the topic to international mobility and talk a little bit about mobility possibilities in pandemic times. I know that some of you already were on Erasmus program or are thinking about going to on to other partner universities and start study abroad, but some of you maybe are afraid of it, and maybe we can discuss a little bit about this international mobility, how can we motivate our students towards international mobility, how we can motivate them to going abroad. So maybe first I will talk with Giulio. Giulio, he's the expert of international mobility at the University of Foggia. And Giulio, how we can motivate students to come to Italy? I'm very motivated, but I'm not a student. If I was a student,
You're welcome to visit our
I could come to you.
anytime. Actually, there is also an Erasmus program, mobility for staff, for training and teaching. Yeah, see, our audience include also students, and I want to address my speech mostly there. And I want to give also an update about the new measures during pandemic by European Commission and local national agency. As you probably know, Erasmus from since last year, is not anymore all in presence, but you have three types of mobility at the moment within the Erasmus program. I talk about Erasmus because it's the most common program and the only one at the moment that supports financially the students. So you have three types of mobility: mobility in presence, mobility, blended mobility, and remotely mobility. What is the difference? Mobility in presence is the common mobility in which you receive the scholarship and you travel to the hosting institutions. Blended mobility consider part in presence and part remotely. So in this case, you will receive the scholarship only for the days spent in the hosting country. And mobility in remote is totally conducted remotely in your home country. About this kind of virtual mobility, I think there are benefits both for students and university. Virtual mobility has a great potential to contribute to internationalization, innovation, and inclusion of higher education. In fact, we can say that barriers to physical mobility of educators and students that can be such as high cost, socioeconomics limits, political and health-related issues can be dramatically reduced by adding the virtual component to mobility and making mobility accessible to all. Most of our students, for example, talking about my experience about can't go abroad because they don't have family that support economically their trips, their stay in hosting country. So virtual mobility can be a solution for any kind of socioeconomics, high cost, political. Probably you can go in the hosting country because political and health related issues. So you still can benefit from the course taught by the hosting institution remotely. So, as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has shattered the doors on most of our brick-and-mortar institutions, leading many universities to move many of their activities, international or otherwise, online. And but shifting from the physical to the digital is not always simple. But those considering implementing virtual mobility programs, we want to watch out for this good benefits of virtual mobility. I think that every university now are moving to e-platform. Most of European university, I think I can say, because I manage also the Erasmus program, 90% at least can offer courses in remote. So I think this is the best way. First benefit for universities is that you can move and a large number of students, you can consider a large number of students undertaking an international mobility. Within your report to QUS ranking, for example, about the number of students, when you state the number of students, it's a good point to increase your ranking in the list, in the worldwide list. This means that you can be more attractive and competitive in international arena, because your internationalization, thanks to the virtual mobility, is increasing because you increase the number of students. You can consider all the students that cannot go abroad because the problem that I mentioned before, like socioeconomics, political, related issues, high cost of mobility. And so you can increase dramatically the number of students that experience the international mobility at your university. So the primary benefit of virtual mobility is that because of its low cost compared or zero cost compared with the physical mobility, it is accessible to many more students. It also provides a classroom experience that sets students up for a job market in which companies are increasingly working in more global and also virtual collaborative settings. So for this reason, my opinion, virtual mobility has the potential to be an important aspect of the internationalization strategy of higher education institutions. And as I said before, there are also many benefits from the students, for the students.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julio. Kasia Olszewska. So I have a questions for you. What are the benefits of international mobility in this very strange period of time, in your opinion?
As Julio told us, it is a big problem for our students, but I think that our students are not interested in going abroad without some benefits. But if the university will have something like double degree programs, I think it will be better for them because they can study at home, and of course being in some lessons, online lessons at the foreign university, and after that also they can have the diploma from this university. But we also have our student from our institute who decided to go to Germany. And I'm so interested how it is going now. I know that, Robert, maybe you have some information now, what is going on. But also we have a student who was in Portugal for a year, and she told us that it is so difficult to have only online lessons in a foreign country, and she didn't have any possibilities to go somewhere because she had to stay at home. So for me it is so difficult. But if the university abroad have some kind of benefits, some different possibilities to motivate the students to come there, I think that it is a good idea. But now we are a small university in Elbląg, and if I remember, in Polytechnical Institute, last semester we have students from France. But I don't know the details. Maybe, Robert, you can tell us.
There was one student from
France.
Yes.
So that's it. But maybe you know what kind of benefits will be good for the students. For me, double degree diplomas, it will be the best one, in my opinion. But maybe you have different ideas and something for studying online from your own country.
Okay, thank you, Kasia. Maybe I guess from Turkey. Is it Tasar? Maybe what is it a good idea to start online mobility? What do you think about it?
Yeah, in fact, we just finished our nominations for Erasmus, and just I want to give some numbers to you about our university. We received 1,000 applications for the Erasmus mobility, 1,000 applications. So what is the total number of our university? We have more than 50,000 students. So it's 2% of the students are interested to go abroad. There is a fact here. In our brochure, we informed students it's not necessary to go physically to the country. You can make your mobility online. So you can stay in your hometown, and you can follow the courses from the university that you are nominated with Erasmus online. None of them accepted that option. So what I want to say here, the students are interested with mobility programs if it's a physical mobility. If it is not, if they'll stay at home and follow the courses online, they are really not interested. This is a special case from my home university, from Firat University, but I guess it's not very different in your institutions. So a student told, I was reading the messages, I took some notes, I will have 2 of them, after I will continue about the online education. Pavel, one of the students, told the courses should be more attractive. He is right. Maybe this is the first question. This is an answer for your first question, but still I want to say it with your permission. The professors, we are used to make physical courses, and it's easy to gain the motivation of the student within the classroom because you can eye contact with the student. But in the online class, to motivate student is not that much easy, because after I read Pavel's note about for the teachers, really we should be more attractive with the camera because there are many online activities. One of them is Kahoot, for example. At the end of the courses, in my courses, for each course I prepare a quiz, small quiz, and the students can make with their digital mobile phones, and I give them some awards like points, like grades. So this is a very important topic. Even it's national, even international, the teachers should be more attractive with their courses. And the other very important thing that one of the colleagues mentioned, it's not still, we don't know how long it will take. So the motivation for online education is limited because we have in our mind maybe 1 month in the summer, maybe after summer, maybe in September, that problem will finish. So we always have a hope that the problem will finish soon. So when you have in your mind that the problem will not be existing in September or October, then you are not preparing for that online education or online courses. So you just wait for the process to finish. So it is really important, it's very important to know the future. So we cannot imagine how long it will take. If our students know that the virus problem, the pandemic will finish in September, really they will be very happy and they have a lot of plans. Now they are still interested with Erasmus. We have 1,000 applications just because they are dreaming to make a physical activity on September. When we offer them online mobility, they are really not interested. And my last point, if you give me for 1 or 2 minutes, the education we have a social system in our country. The education is equal to everyone. The state, the government, is responsible to give equal rights for education. But the pandemic period, again, it's difficult in terms of equal chance for accessing the knowledge, because most of the students go back to their villages. They are not always living in the city centers. Some of them moved to their village. Maybe they have some problems with internet connection, and mostly they have problems with the, let's say, laptops. They don't have proper internet connection or the physical laptops or computers for the education. So for the next periods, if the pandemic period will continue, we have to, in the state level, in the government level, our government did it in some education levels, especially for primary schools. They give the tablets and the computers to the low-income students because it's necessary. You cannot say, as a government, if it's poor, then no connection, so nothing to do. So it's more difficult for the governments to continue that online education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now maybe you can answer for one question. Julia wrote, do you think that after the pandemic we should stay with online on hybrid classes or maybe come back to universities? Yes. Mariana, maybe I can ask you, maybe you can answer for these questions. In your opinion, what should we do after the pandemic when it will finish?
Yeah, when we finish, I believe that the right for personal choice should be given to each student, so that each student decides if there are opportunities to choose, of course, whether the student wants to attend the classes online or in person. I do have one suggestion here and one concern, though. The suggestion would be that even though this pandemic situation caught most of the people unprepared for this type of acting in the educational process, probably the university authorities may consider sending the university staff on a specific workshops in methodology of digital teaching, which are possible. And maybe at a further notice, the Ministries of Education would consider introducing a course for methodology in digital teaching at the faculties of education, which can be something like additional course that all these academic staff can take and be more prepared. And then in terms of the mobility, there's one other concern that wasn't mentioned. I heard the speech. There are countries like, example, Macedonia. The number of people who are infected with COVID is very high, and there are no vaccines, or just some small percent of the population got vaccinated. On the other hand, there have been some talks for introducing EU COVID passports. And this is a kind of situation which can affect student and staff mobility a lot, because the EU COVID passports would not arrive for Macedonian citizens from the very start, of course. And then if a person needs to show a negative COVID test, I know that it costs approximately around 100 euros. So these are some extra costs that maybe the student or the staff need to pay, either from the scholarship or from their own pocket in order to go for mobility. So I will, in that regard, maybe recommend countries like Turkey. I see Turkey here, Turkey, or besides Erasmus, I am familiar that they have also this Mevlana program, which is also for the mobility and very active, that they may maybe intensify the cooperation, because otherwise I see it will be hard to conduct the mobility. And as for back to the question of the student, it's always to feel the student life at the university and the campus, and that's something that can tell you an older person like me, but now students have a different life. They live in a different age, digital age, and even when they're on campus, they are all the time on their phones. So that's why I believe it should be given the right to choose if there is a chance.
Thank you, Mariana. And I know that Tomasz, he would like to say something also answering for these questions. Tomasz, what would you like to say?
Yes, answering that question, I have to say that at my university, at the Department of History, we are already working on the curriculum for new, let's say, model of master studies in history that will go hybrid. So it means that at least 50% will be taught online. Of course, in our case, it's a bit different situation, because most of our master students are working. So for a few years, we are offering courses for that particular studies that are only in the afternoon. So students can work, and then after work can come to classes. But from next year, that particular studies will be offered in hybrid model. And I think that while talking about our university, it will be more and more going hybrid or fully online. We have like 1,500 students from abroad. So when they cannot come physically to Kaunas, especially there are students from former Soviet countries like Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, from Georgia, Ukraine, Belarus, of course, a huge amount of students. So offering fully online studies, it's a solution for them in those pandemic times when that movement through the border is very limited. Of course, we had some problems with that, like the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, when the internet was switched off in Azerbaijan, so that students couldn't log in. The same situation with our Belarusian students that were in Minsk and during those political protests, and had some problems with internet. So of course. There were big problems. We will see how it will work, but I'm glad that at least at that stage, our Institute of Innovative Studies, they prepared some methodology for us. But next week, as far as I remember, we have some meetings. So maybe after that, I could comment more how it will be organized technically. So that will be my comment. So for sure, I think that there is no full way back to face-to-face teaching, and that hybrid model will win, at least.
Thank you very much. Giulio.
Yes, coming back to the student questions about coming back to the class in presence or not. I think that this question should be addressed to university governors. They are in charge to decide if they want to continue with e-learning and lesson in remotes or not. I think that at least in Italy it works like this. The rector and the committee will decide if University of Foggia will continue offering lessons by remote or only in presence. So no one knows at the moment because we still didn't ask to ourselves about this problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Giulio. I have another question to our students, and I will show it on the screen because I think so. It's quite of the most important questions about cameras. Should you switch on or switch off your camera during online lessons? I know that a lot of teachers, professors, they have the problems because they don't see their students. I have the same problems since the beginning of my lectures. I haven't seen any of my students, so I don't know how they look like. And a few days ago, I asked our student on our Instagram page, Instagram stories, do they switch on the cameras or they don't do it? And most of the people, the students, they answer that they prefer not to switch on the cameras. And I'm interested, how is in your countries? How is in Turkey? How is in Ukraine, in Lithuania, in Italy? How looks the situations? Do your students switch on the cameras? Bura, how is in Turkey? Do you have this situation too?
For 1 year, I was giving my courses by looking at the wall because on the screen I couldn't see any faces, unfortunately. I wanted them to open their cameras and microphones a couple of times, but actually I couldn't, because they don't want to show themselves. I think the reasons why they don't want to show themselves, they are sleeping when I talking about my courses. Probably they don't listen to my courses. It means that the first of the conversation I told you before, there's a motivation problem, I said to you. When I see my screen, at the beginning of my course, I see 8 or 10 of my students. It means it's the 30% of my total students. When I try to make them interactive students during the lesson, of course, I can find only 2 or 3 students actively attending the course. It means the entire one, the 5 or 6 students, are sleeping or opening the screen and going to somewhere else. I don't know what are they doing, but in summary, it's the biggest problem of our courses, participation problem and active student problem. I don't know if the students who is asking questions, they want to show themselves during the course or not.
Okay, who would like to say the opinion about switching on or switching off cameras?
Well,
Olga.
in Italy,
Giulio. Okay, Giulio would like to say.
In Italy, our platform is the structure. Our platform is that during the classroom, during the lesson, only professor have camera on. Our platform switch off automatically all the students' camera. But during examination, students have to exhibit the ID and camera should be on because they can answer to the question of reading some documents on the desktop. And so professors are also careful that the eyes are only on camera and they don't read the papers and notes. they can open in Word on the desktop. So during the lesson, camera off. During the examination, camera on.
Okay, I was reading the comments of our students, and then the students, they also wrote that they had some internet connection problems with the internet connections when all the people, they have switched on the cameras on Microsoft Teams. And Olga, how is your opinion? Tell us, because
yes,
in your opinion, should students, they turn on or turn off the cameras?
I can say from my experience, for example, for me, it's very important to have connection with the students, visual connections. So in some way, I think that when we have some discussion or something like that, I think 10 persons when are in online, it's important to cameras should be on. So then we have digital but still connection. But when there are a lot of people, it's another sphere, because when camera is switched off, people are not so much attentive very often. I can say it by myself. When I'm switched on, I am more attentive and try to understand what is going on in the screen. Then I'm off. So in some way I am relaxed. I can do something, maybe just watching my phone or something like that. So in some way, I prefer when people who are just discussing with me some ideas, or when I'm representing the lecture, are on. So in some way, I consider it's the best way to have the cameras on. Yes.
Thank you, Olga. I think so that we almost chat 1 hour and a half, so it's time to sum up our webinar. Maybe Kasia, maybe you can give your opinions, the ending opinions, closing opinions about all topics that we already discussed during our webinar.
Well, I've been taking some notes during, you know, when you were talking. When what I see that we have all. As we expected, we have all the same problems. Actually, we have problems with the internet connection, and we have the problem of how to make students being focused, how to make students being involved in the lessons. And this is, you know, the problem of everybody of us. Well, our guests from Turkey, they said that they have also the problem of the lack of the devices of personal computers for the students. So I think it's a huge problem, actually. I think in Poland, students don't complain. They don't say we don't have actually an access to a personal computer. So in Poland, it's okay. But actually, students sometimes complain that they are living outside of a big city and they don't have a good internet connection. So first of all, you know, I think we all struggle with one big problem: how to engage students in our distant learning. So I think this could be a final remark of this meeting. You know, how can we improve, you know, our connection? How can we engage students? How can we, you know, just to convince them? How we can make them, you know, to turn on these cameras? But actually, I think that I heard one teacher told me, you know, we can think about a platform in which we, as teachers, we see students, and other students don't see the cameras of other students. I think this could be a solution, because sometimes students among them, they are like intimidated. I don't know. They don't want to show, you know, their faces, you know, between them. But I think if we want to make it obligatory to have these cameras, so we could, you know, change the devices there, and we could change the platforms. So in the way that only we as teachers can see the students, and other students don't see the faces of other students. So maybe if this could be possible, So then we can convince the students that you are, secure. Nobody is watching you. It's only a tool for me, for a teacher, to see your face. Because actually I have the same problem, when I don't see the faces of my students and I have the silence. For example, when I make a question and there is a silence, for me, it's like I have no information whether the student is thinking, because when I see the face, I see the student is if the student is angry, if the student is tired, if the student, is thinking. When you don't see the face, you don't know actually what to do. Whether you should wait for an answer, or maybe, as other guests said, the answer will never be given, because maybe the students are in that time following other activities. So this is the problem, actually. So thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Kasia. It was very interesting what you said about these cameras. Maybe I don't know any system that could work like this. Maybe our vice rector, Jurek, maybe you know some other platforms when the cameras should be switched on and only the host, so the professor could see the face of the student, and the rest of the students they don't see each other. Jurek, what's your opinion about this idea? Please switch on the microphone.
Okay. I can observe my wife. She also is a teacher, and she always has all cameras switched on. I don't know why, how. So I think it depends on teacher.
Okay, so at the final conclusions, I would like to ask Kasia Olszewska and finish our webinar in few words, because she is the organizer of this webinar. She invited all of our guests. So Kasia, say the final speech of our webinar.
Oh my God, it is so difficult for me. But all of informations which we have heard here, I think that they are so important for all countries, for all students in the world. And I think that, as Kasia told us, it is the same. We have the same problems. But what we are talking about here, I think that it is a good idea to make a conference in the future, because it is so important, and maybe in the countries which we are from, we can find some solutions for solving the problems which we have all together. So thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure for me and for our university, and I think that in the future we will contact and make something new. Maybe in your heads will be some new ideas to do something like that. As I told you, it was the first time in our university, and I think that everything is okay. So thank you very much, and I hope that we can meet together in the future. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you very much that you were here with us. Thank you very much to our guests from different countries. Thank you very much to our participants on our Facebook page. And thank you for your activities in comments. And I saw it that Paweł Stróżowski, he was the most active person. So Paweł, write us on on our Facebook page, write to us, and we will contact with you to give you some present for you. So send a message to the fan page of our university, and we'll contact with you later. Okay, I would like to close our meeting, our first international webinar. I hope so, that in the future we'll organize similar conferences, and you will take part again. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and see you at our university. Maybe after pandemic, we invite our guests, international guests, to visit our university. So after pandemic, when everything will be open, we are inviting you to visit us. Okay, thank you very much. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.